The same point as Brett was going to make, but just to refine it this way, I mean, the reason why so many people are going mad is, yes, we haven't found a way to deal with speaking to the world. I mean, it is impossible to find a manner of speaking which could simultaneously be you and a few people in a room, you and the people at your dinner, and possibly everyone in the world. It's jokes are the most obvious one. There is no joke so funny that it can be repeated to everybody in the world all the time.
Forever.
Forever.
Yeah.
And if there's, and we all know most jokes have some edge somewhere. Most of them are not going to last 5 years, let alone et cetera, et cetera. So jokes are the obvious one. The other one is, and I was very worried by what Sam said about that, about the same self-censorship, or not self-censorship, but that thing of stepping back slightly, because what is the problem for politics in all of our countries at the moment? What has produced this backlash in politics? It's that we've had a generation of politicians who can never say anything meaningful in front of people. I mean, I spend a certain amount of my life on shows with politicians, and I know, and Majid knows, that basically you see it in their eyes.
Yeah.
The aim is to survive the next half hour without plausibly or otherwise being accused of racism, sexism, homophobia, transphobia, or something else. And you can see it in the other politicians. There's no meaningful win. The hope is that the other person says something which allows you to say, I think that's quite offensive to X group of people. And then the person goes, oh no. And then they're on the ropes and you got them. And if you get enough other people, you destroy them and they're dead. And that's it. And the point is that this is why politicians can't say anything. This could be
your effect on these politicians.
Yeah, it may be. But the point is that this is why politics is going bad, because you can't tell any truth to that kind of audience. Now, the problem is, if down from politicians, or up from politicians maybe, you have the same effect, that the rest of the world also suffers the problem that politicians have of how to speak to everyone all the time.
Right. There's a reason for this, right? So that's a perfect segue to what I was going to say, actually, so thank you, because actually politicians, the reason that happens to politicians, if you go back to what I was...
We'll get back to Majid's response in just a little bit, but I just want to reiterate a little bit about what Douglas had said about politicians, and he can see it in their eyes, that all they're trying to do is make sure that they survive the interview. And that is so true. So you have politicians that are just like, robotic. Hello, I am, for you, yes, no, maybe, hello, goodbye, this, that, the other thing. I mean, it's all robotic. They've got cue cards. You see them on the debate stage. It's the same old answers. They don't answer the question that's given to them. They go off on their own talking points. And then you have somebody like Donald Trump comes around and he says it exactly like it is. Like the guy sitting at the bar looking at the TV screen and going, that's full of crap. That's really shitty. That's just a bunch of bullshit. That's just BS. I don't like that. You can't force me to do that. I like this. I don't like that. That sucks. This is good. And you've got Trump that comes out there and just says it like it is. And yes, sometimes it's a little crude around the edges, but then it's damned if he does, damned if he doesn't. Some people, they love his tweets because it gets, so many hits, they get advertising, the news stations love it. But at the same time, they criticize the way that he delivers. That's his way of delivering. That's his oratorical speech. That's the way he communicates. People love it. Others don't. We don't give a crap. All we want to do is have somebody. He's the same way in front of the teleprompter, in front of the TV, as he would be sitting down in front of you, telling you exactly what you want to hear. You may not want to hear it. but he's still going to tell you to it anyways, in his own way, his own method, his own instinct. And he's got a political gut that is absolutely incredible, that can read the minds of the crowd, that can read the pulse of a nation, can read the pulse of the people that's there for. So when Douglas is talking about, that's 99.99% of all the politicians out there, where are the eggs at? Oh, I don't want to step and crack an egg. No, we don't want to do that. Where's the minefield at? Maneuver around there. And Trump just go bulldozes, mine, egg crack, egg crack, egg crack. So what? Looks behind. So what? Moving on forward. Anyways, let's get to Majid and his response. But before we do, just want to let you know you're watching the Dr. Nasir Shaikh Show. I'm your host, Dr. Nasir, and this is what we have on tap for you, folks. More of Douglas Murray and the discussions that he has with some of the other intellectuals, the conservative intellectuals down in Australia at this conference. And basically, we're going to get to that right now.
About everyone speaking to their audience and worrying that their audience will turn against them online. Well, if you think about that with your social media followings and not wanting to lose followers and not wanting the mob to turn against you on social media, politicians have for a long time been living that because we live in democracies. And so the politician is constantly worried about the mob turning against them. And what's happened with social media is all of us have become small p politicians because we all have a following and we all have an audience, and we don't want that mob to turn against us as they would a politician after a 5-year term. So now all of us are in danger of becoming that boring politician that doesn't say anything interesting because we're trying to offend the least amount of people when we speak. Now, this is why I wanted to just very quickly, I know you want to come back into this, mention an example that is particular to the UK, but you may have heard of. So,
Majid brings up a great point too, which is basically what they talk about, which is audience capture or guest capture. And look, I believe that you've got to say what you feel. Now, there are some ramifications for that. For example, a lot of times, when do you go ahead and use that swear word, for effect, for dramatic effect? But if you use it too often, it sort of loses some of its efficacy, some of its potency. And then the other thing, if you use it too much on a platform like this, too much vulgarity, you might not be able to get your message out because you'll be flagged, and then and they'll take your video down. So, you've got to find platforms where if you want to use that type of, language, you want to get, that type of syntax, that type of grammar, you want to, really be bombastic, then you go on those mediums, but they may not have that far-reaching effect as a platform such as this. But then, like I said, is in terms of your audience, you want to present them with what? Material that they're interested in. Conservative talk. And that's what we try to bring you here at the Dr. Nasir Shaikh Show. Bring you video clips, do a reaction to them, let you make your own decisions, but I've got my opinions of what I want to talk about, and no one's going to make me change the way I talk about it, or my perceptions, my political prescription from my political perspective, my political punditry. Of course not. Those are my opinions. Now, that's audience capture. Of course. If I started talking in the opposite direction, of course I'm going to lose people. But you can't be afraid of losing people to the extent that, and I'm not saying don't talk about some of the other subjects from the other side, but it's not in terms of where you're going to be saying that, you want to be losing people because now you decide that everything that you were talking about happens to be, you just do a complete flip. That's just something different. And then guest captures for those shows or for those entities that are having a bunch of guests on. And the whole idea that you hear from the left now is, oh, those aren't really leftists that are coming on conservative talk shows. They're not, they were never really left. Like Dave Rubin was never really left. And now he's talking conservative. Or Joe Rogan, he was never really left and now he's conservative. I think, Joe, listen, you bring the guests on who you want to bring on, and then you let the audience decide. The audience is going to let you know. Just take a look at your analytics. The audience will let you know whether or not that was there. The problem is very few leftists, liberals, progressives want to go on these conservative shows. For the real reason is they want that softball interview. They want that softball debate, that softball, discussion. They don't want to get into the pen. They don't want to get into the debate pit. They don't want those hard questions being asked because they don't want to answer them because they know by answering them, it's going to put their position in jeopardy. They want to go on shows where they can sort of control the narrative and it's all going to be nice and, oh, let's all hug each other and, kumbaya moment and that kind of crap. Anyways, folks, we appreciate you taking the time to watch. You've been watching the Dr. Nasir Shaikh Show. I've been your host. My name is Dr. Nasir. If you haven't done so already and we've earned your subscription, we'd certainly love for you to go ahead and hit that subscription button. Hit that notification bell as well. Like, share, and follow us. You all know what to do. Check out our other videos here and there and on our website link on the YouTube channel. I'll leave you with my final thought, which is when you're right, you're right. And when you're left, you're wrong. Until next time, folks, take care and stay safe.